My name is Robert, and what I saw when I finally sat down to review the clips from the discreet security cameras I had installed, without telling my wife, shattered everything I thought I understood about love, vows, and what a family is supposed to feel like. When Lana and I met, she was a receptionist at a dental office, saving toward early childhood education classes, all patience and quiet warmth in ways that reminded me of my mother at her best. She seemed to get me, the long hours, the drive not as ambition for its own sake, but as a way to build a stable future for us. We dated for years. By the time I proposed, I'd been promoted twice and could comfortably support us both. She often talked about how she wanted, one day, to be a stay-at-home mom. I loved the idea of being able to give her that choice, a luxury my own mother never had. In our early married years, we bought a small house in a decent neighborhood, and I threw myself into work 50, sometimes 60 hours a week, while making sure that when I was home, I was truly home. We ate dinner together most nights. We spent time on purpose, and it felt like what I'd always hoped a life might be. The way I show up for family was written when I was 8. My father left a note on the counter and walked out, saying the money pressure was too much and he couldn't do it anymore. My mother found the paper, then went to work, never bad-mouthing him in front of me, never wielding me as a weapon, just doing what needed to be done, 2 and 3 jobs at a time, present whenever she was home. Watching her grind to keep us afloat taught me responsibility in the bones. She never made me feel like a burden, even when everything was heavy. Somewhere in those years, I made a private promise. If I ever had a family, I would not leave. I would work as hard as required to give them stability, and I would never let them feel the uncertainty that defined my childhood. So I worked at school, not because it came easy, but because I knew it was the path to a better shot. I started a job at 16 to save for community college. I found work as a junior financial advisor and built a career that could carry a household. When Lana got pregnant 3 years into our marriage, we were thrilled, ready. She asked to quit her job to focus fully on motherhood, and I supported it without hesitation. This was exactly what I'd worked for, providing well enough that she could choose to be home with our child. So I increased my hours, happily. Connor arrived healthy and perfect, and I felt like I'd honored that boyhood promise at last. I was doing what my father did not. The next years were nearly storybook. Lana took to motherhood beautifully. Connor hit his milestones. We even upgraded to a bigger place in a better area when he turned 2. She seemed genuinely content as a stay-at-home mom, never guilt-tripping me about the long days. She understood that my work was for us, not away from us. When I was home, I was hands-on playtime, bedtime routines, dishes, whatever needed doing. By the time Connor was 4, he was in preschool 3 days a week, which gave Lana a few hours for errands, appointments, and the occasional lunch with friends. Our routine felt healthy, steady, exactly the stability I'd wanted to provide. Then the crime report started. Over 6 weeks, 4 daytime break-ins within 3 blocks, thieves targeting electronics, jewelry, small valuables. We had moved here because it felt safe. The idea of an empty house during errands, or Lana home alone, pushed me to act. At a community meeting, neighbors talked cameras. An officer suggested visible deterrence and, if needed, hidden cameras for identification. I spent a week researching a simple, no-frills system, wireless smartphone app, internal memory cards, and installed 4 cameras. 1 on the front approach, 1 watching the backyard, and 2 inside covering the living room and kitchen. They were placed to catch entries without invading bedroom or bathroom privacy. Lana had taken Connor to visit her parents that weekend, so I finished everything in one stretch, tested the app, confirmed motion detection, and felt relief. In the focus of getting it done, I forgot to mention the cameras when they came back. It wasn't secrecy. It just didn't feel urgent to talk through what I'd installed for our protection, and the units were small enough to disappear unless you were looking. For months, there were no incidents. The meeting had apparently spooked opportunists, and I stopped checking regularly. Motion alerts blurred into background noise because Lana and Connor were home much of the day. so I let the system quietly record in case the footage ever mattered. About 8 months later, an app notification changed the rhythm. Storage almost full. Auto-deletion of oldest recordings in 48 hours. I planned to spend Saturday clearing space and, if I'm honest, curious to glimpse the daily life I missed while at work. Connor playing, Lana moving through routines, maybe moments worth saving. After breakfast, with Connor happily in his playroom, I opened my laptop, scrolled through dates and camera tags, and started skimming recent clips at high speed. At first, it was exactly what I expected. Domestic life unfolding. Lana cooking, tidying, helping Connor, carrying days the way she always had. I smiled at the small stuff, at Connor's enthusiasm for everything. Then a pattern bothered me. A silver Honda Accord in multiple clips, parked in our driveway in the afternoons. I assumed a delivery, a friend I hadn't met, but it kept showing up, several times a week, typically between 1 and 4 p.m. I focused on those windows. A man got out, same guy each time approaching with the ease of someone who knew the door code in his bones. From the front camera, I watched how Lana greeted him. Warm, familiar, an embrace before stepping inside together. That wasn't a contractor. I switched to the interior angle for the matching timestamps. Then I stopped and leaned back, the air gone thin. Lana and this man, his name, I'd later learn, was Ryan, were not friends. They were physically intimate, the kind of intimacy Lana and I hadn't shared in too long, and they were carrying on in my house during the hours I was at work. I forced myself to keep watching because I needed to know if this was a single lapse or something else. It wasn't a one-off. 2, sometimes 3 times a week during that same window, while I was in the office and Connor was supposed to be at preschool. The worst wasn't only the affair, it was the planning woven through it, how she structured days, how she moved around the visits, how completely normal she kept the face of our marriage. And then it got worse. On several occasions when Connor was home, Lana locked him in his bedroom so she could be undisturbed with her lover in the living room. Other times, timestamps showed she should have picked him up at noon, but didn't leave the house until after 1. Our 4-year-old had been left waiting because her time with Ryan ran long. I shut the laptop. The evidence of infidelity was enough. Seeing neglect braided into it was more than I could process. I sat in my office for almost 2 hours, asking questions I hated. How did I miss this? Was her contentment an act? What was I failing to provide? All the times she seemed grateful for our life, were they rehearsed? I rejoined them for the weekend, face steady, stomach moving through broken glass. At dinner, she asked why I was quiet. I lied about a client problem, and it satisfied her. Her lack of visible guilt was almost as disturbing as the videos, a seamless double life, affectionate in the same casual ways days after being with him. Over the next several days, I studied her behavior for any tear in the fabric. There wasn't one. She kept meals, chores, preschool runs, conversation, everything on script. Emotion wanted a confrontation. But I knew what that would produce. Denial, minimization, blame, tears as anesthesia. So I thought instead about Connor. He had been locked in rooms, left waiting, exposed to chaos he couldn't understand. Whatever I did next had to prioritize his well-being, even at the expense of my need to shout. I lay awake many nights trying to imagine a salvage plan. I couldn't. Trust was gone in a way I didn't see a path back from. More importantly, I was raising a boy with a woman modeling that deception is acceptable, that your needs outrank a 4-year-old's. I was raised by a mother whose integrity never shook. I could not let Connor learn the opposite inside our home. After a week of this, I decided the marriage was over. Not to punish Lana, but to protect my son from a house built on lies. I found a family law attorney with deep custody experience, brought copies of the clips, and asked what would matter. He said the footage was admissible and powerful, adultery plus documented child neglect, likely to drive custody in my favor and remove alimony risk. His advice was to file quickly, before Lana realized what I had. For 3 more weeks, I lived a performance husband on the outside, exit in motion underneath, while my attorney prepared filings. The cameras continued documenting the same rhythm. Visits, affection, no sign of stopping. We scheduled service for a Tuesday morning while I'd be at work and Connor at preschool. I didn't want him present for the fallout. She called me after she was served. Shock, anger, denial on a loop. When I told her I had camera footage, her tone shifted from denial to a brittle blame. I hadn't been present enough. My hours, my fault. The proceedings took months, but the outcome was largely set. Her lawyer asked for alimony and major time with Connor. The videos of affair and neglect undermined both requests. I was granted primary custody. She received supervised visitation to start. She was ordered into parenting classes and counseling before any possibility of unsupervised time. Financially, our prenup and her adultery meant no ongoing support. She got her share of what we'd built together, but no alimony. I kept the house and primary custody. After the divorce, I cut back my hours and lined up caregivers so I could be present in ways that matter. Connor adjusted with a speed that felt like relief, no tension to absorb. No waiting on a curb when he should be home. No locked door when the house goes quiet. Looking back, that promise to the 8-year-old version of me held steady when everything else broke. I did not abandon my family. I protected my son and gave him a truthful home. The cameras revealed a painful truth, but truth is better than a lie that looks like a life. Sometimes protecting a family means choosing the hard path now for a better one later. Lana's affair, and the way she let it eclipse our son, made our home unsound no matter how normal the surface looked. Now Connor and I have a routine that is quieter, more honest, and the boy I love is learning what integrity looks like day after day in the small things that count.